Largest nonprofit hospice in Central Ohio, freestanding, not related to any hospital units. We have an office in, our main office is in Lincoln County in Newark, and we have secondary offices in Westerville and in Lancaster. We serve 9 counties of about 300 patients. So we're in and out of homes and nursing facilities, sometimes hotels, on a daily basis. Our goal of today is just to answer any questions you guys have about hospice in general, about palliative care, about code status. Typically in our organization, the social worker is the one that does the code status and works with the families to complete advanced directives and to do the codes. And then we send them off to our physicians for signature. We have a foundation that supports us. It's a foundation for Hospice of Central Ohio. All of our services are not-for-profit, and just that, all that means is that all the money that we get from Medicaid, Medicare, all rolls back into patient care. We don't have to pay shareholders. We don't have to provide anything back to anybody except to our patients. It allows us to be able to provide sometimes last wishes. We've been known to send a couple patients have gone to OSU football games, basketball games that we've been able to get provided through our foundation. We also will take care of if we have families that don't have air conditioning or don't have heat or something breaks and they can't afford it, we will help with that. I often get calls saying, my electric bill is $3,000, it's going to be shut off next week, what can you do? We won't pay a $3,000 bill, but we will help them get on a payment plan or the process to be able to do that, and that our foundation provides that for us. Do most of you know much about hospice, or?
I was going to just start the questions off with, what is hospice? Hospice is different in every state. In the state of Ohio, who can have hospice? How long can it last? Things like that.
There's no term of how long hospice can last. The rule in the state of Ohio, Medicare standard is that a patient has to have a life-limiting illness that lasts 6 months or less. But that's determined, Medicare pulled a magic number out of their hat and just said, we're going to say 6 months. So there's no medical model that has said why 6 months, other than what my job is to continue to say why a patient meets hospice criteria. So they don't have to necessarily pass away in 6 months, but we just have to continue to show that there's something keeping them eligible for hospice. So that could be more hospitalizations, more infections, weight loss, and it can be very small. So every 3 months our physicians, they look at patients and they determine if they're still meeting that criteria, and that goes along with our assessment from the nurse, the social worker, and aide. So we're looking for functional changes, we're looking for symptom changes, but they have to have some type of disease process that the doctor is saying if it runs its natural course, then it's 6 months or less. And most of you probably know that there's not very many diseases that actually run their natural course. So we take that into account, and we might have some patients that live for 2 years and they're still on hospice. We have patients that graduate from hospice because they might have had a stroke, and immediately after their stroke they're very debilitated, not eating, not drinking, not swallowing, not walking, and then after 5 or 6 days, they start eating a little bit again, they start drinking a little bit, they start getting back to that normal functioning level, and then we find they're not meeting that criteria no longer, so we graduate them from hospice. And then 2 months later, they may be back right where they started, and we might pick them up again. There's no rule if you discharge somebody from hospice that they can't come back to hospice. We've done that several times, and what we found is that having hospice is what's kept them at that functioning level, and as soon as we pull out our services, then they start going downhill again, because you have patients that don't comply with their meds, they don't take their meds, they don't have any money to pay for their meds, so then they stop taking them, and then they get right back into CHF or start having edema again that makes them not be able to walk and those types of things. Does that answer your question? Do you guys have much experience with hospice? Do you see a lot of patients when you go into their homes that have hospice and
Not only homes, but also nursing homes.
nursing facilities?
I think for me, it seems to be there's always a bit of confusion as to when and when not to call EMS, especially from an extended care facilities spot because, well, they're in hospice, why'd you call us?
Well, and I think that's part of the confusion with us too, because we think of, well, I'll use myself as an example. When my father passed away, he passed away in Kentucky. You can't get hospice there until the last 2 weeks of your life. You know, it's really hard to get. So you expect, okay, someone called hospice, they're dying. You know, and here we go, oh, they're a hospice patient, why did you call us? Well, because hospice provides more care than just the true last 2 weeks of
Right.
life.
We find, and the statistics show, that when you're on hospice, your quality of life typically improves, at least temporarily, because we start the right medications, we're giving the right dosages of medication, so we can actually improve the quality of life. Second of all, most people wait to hospice till the last couple days, but we find that we can't actually do our job unless we have at least 30 days. Because we can't educate, we can't do symptom control, we can't do that in a 24-hour period. So to do our job well, we have to have longer. And that's where that education comes in, because we don't have time to educate our families about not necessarily calling the EMS, not going to the hospital, when we only have a 48 to 72-hour window to do that. Facilities are really bad, and I think assisted livings are probably even worse. I don't know if you guys find that with assisted livings versus ECFs, but they have, most of what I found have found a specific set of rules. If they have a fall, they automatically have to call EMS. If they do this, they automatically have to call EMS. And I think that's where I think the disconnect comes in. We can educate and educate and educate, and you get that one nurse at 2 in the morning that hasn't had a shift at the facility for 3 weeks, and they're the ones that call for EMS to come. We try to do a lot of education, but I think the problem comes in is that it comes down to family preference. Our hospice takes the stance that a patient can still go to the hospital and have hospice at the same time. So what that means is if a patient falls, we're not going to say don't call EMS, because if it needs to go to the hospital and you need to have something done, then we're not going to exclude you from being able to do that. We also have families that have not a very high educational status, so you can tell them until you're blue in the face, call hospice, don't call it the EMS first, and they don't listen. Plus, what have you learned since you were 5 years old when something happens? Call 911. That's what we've always been taught that. So it's like teaching our families a different way of thinking, that you settled gentlemen are not the only ones that can help, but hospice can help too. And so we do try to teach the families that calling us first, even if they call you, call hospice too. And that's something that you can do as you're going into these people's homes. If you find out they have hospice, I don't know if they readily tell you sometimes that they have hospice, or if they're repeat offenders, if they can call it frequently. But if they tell you that, maybe something to say is, have you called your hospice nurse? Have you called your hospice? Because if we can't get there, well, obviously we're not going to get there as quickly as you do. But if we can't get there before you transport them, then we'll go to the hospital and we'll meet them there. And a lot of times we can help not necessarily get them admitted, but get them back home. And we can start things like, we have a group called crisis care, and what that is continuous care 24 hours a day in the home until we can get their symptom managed. And we also have an inpatient unit where we can take patients that might meet that hospital criteria but don't want to actually stay in the hospital type setting. And so that can help as well. You know, we treat people based on their individual need, and so I don't think it's a blanket. You have hospice, you can't go to the hospital. You have hospice, don't call EMS. It unfortunately just doesn't work that way. especially people